Hi, this is Joe Bolen, and today we're going to look at the message box. The message box is a nice method that we can implement in our code to take advantage of informing a user of a situation that they need to respond to, or letting them know that something has happened successfully or not. So I'd like to take you into the message box so you can learn how to code the message box and use its different parameters to create the kind of message that you'd like to have the user see and respond to. So I've created a demo program that you'll see on the screen in which I've created a number of buttons with different variations to call the message box function. The simple message box will just pass in a simple message to the function, and it will not do much more than just give a message with an OK button with it. The next one will be a simple message box with a caption, and here we'll see the caption in the top part of the message box, and it'll also have the OK button as part of it. It defaults with the OK button. So when we see that a third button clicked where I have the message box with caption and the OK button, it will look just exactly like the one above it. And then the next one after it is a message box with caption, OK button, and icon. And there are a variety of icons that we can select to add to our message box. But essentially it makes it more colorful and informs the user what type of message they're responding to. And then the next one shows a message box with a variety of buttons. In this case we'll have the yes/no buttons showing. And then I'll have the icon, and I'll set the default button to the no button instead of the yes button to make that the default selection. And then the last one is our exit button, which we see in a lot of programs, and I'll show you how to code the exit button so that you can confirm to the user that they really do want to exit the program. So let's take a look at the code behind all these buttons before we start the actual run. Okay, let me scroll up to the top. The first one is just a message box with just a message coming through it, and we use the MessageBox.show method to do this, and we pass into it the message that we want to use on that. We can also pass in a variable. In this case, it would have to be a variable declared as a string into this, or we can actually build up a string in this area. Maybe we have something where we're trying to express some kind of number. We could actually take a process of building a string up, converting the number to a string and adding it and concatenating it to be shown. So this is a very simple message box show function. The next one below it is just a simple message, and I put my caption in for the caption. So we'll see the caption. A lot of times I use the me.text, which is the text for the form here for the caption. Otherwise, I might put in something like confirm exit, or some kind of thing to inform to the nature of the message that I'm attaching. The next one below it puts the message box OK button in there as the third parameter. Now there are a number of buttons we can choose. I'm going to deselect OK, and you'll see as I do that that we have different buttons. We have the abort, retry, ignore buttons, just the OK button, which is the default, the OK cancel, retry cancel, yes no, and yes no cancel. In this case we're going to stay with the OK button, which is the default. And then the next one below it is showing us the same thing, but we've added to it the icon for giving more information to it. And I'm going to deselect the information part of that and let you see the different ones. We have the asterisk, the error, which means that basically we have an error that needs to be handled or will cause the program to abort. We have the exclamation type icon that informs that there's something very important that we need to know. The hand, perhaps to stop doing what we're doing or request some kind of attention. The information with this more generic We can also choose none, which doesn't make any sense in one way to understand that. Then we have the question for if we're asking a question, stop, and warning. So there are a number of different icons we can pick to choose this, and we want to choose one that helps enforce the message that we're trying to present to the user. So I'm going to use the information icon for this one. The next button we have shows that we can use the message box to return back the selection that we've asked for a user. In fact, this one just says, and I misspelled it, I see, click yes, no, make a decision for the caption, and then I'm passing into it the yes, no buttons to be selected, and I'm saying that I want to use the question icon, and I'm defaulting to the second button. In this case, I'm defaulting to the no button that we have described up here. I could make a default to the yes button if I wanted to, but I wanted to show you that we can change the default to any of the buttons that we've selected with the parameter of the default button. Here we also see the logic. If I happen to pick yes, which is the first one, I have the dialog result.yes option. And there are a number of dialog results that we can use, and you'll see that they correspond as we go through to the different ones that we might select on that. In this case, I'm using the dialog response yes for this particular one. And if I choose and get a response back yes, then I'm going to proceed to do some code related to whatever I want to have happen for that yes response. Otherwise, I'm going with the no response, and I'll code for the no response. This is a place where we'll have to code in the logic that we might want to have happen. Now, the last one is our exit button, which is normally we just do an ME close, and if it's the only form on the screen, closing the form also exits the program. So by closing the form, we exit the program. But there is also an event associated with the closing activity, and that's the form closing event. And so I've coded in the form closing event for the form, and I've asked the person, do in fact they want to close the form on this? And so I say, MessageBox show, do you want to exit program? And my caption is confirm exit with my buttons yes, no, a question, defaulting to the no, and forcing the user to say yes, I do want to close, so they can't just accidentally pop out of the program. And if they choose to go with the no response, then I'm setting the eCancel augment back to true, which will abort the exiting of the program. So let's see all these different ones in place as we run the program. So my program's up and running, and the first one I'm going to hit is just a simple message box with nothing more than just a simple message going in as a parameter. And you'll see that it just says simple message, nothing in the caption area, and it defaults with the OK button. And the program will halt at this point until the user clicks on OK or cancels out with the red X on the message. The next one is the message box with caption, and here I've just put in a very simple caption into this one. So we see the caption coming up into this area. As a lot of times I take the ME text, which is this parameter up in here of my form, and use that for the caption, unless I want to have something very specific in the caption area. Once again, this one has the default of OK for the response. Now we see the same thing as the button above it with the caption, but I've added the OK button parameter, and we'll see this one pop up. And once again, it looks exactly the same. I've got the caption, the message, and the button. Next one I'm going to add this time is with the icon, and that's the time I chose just the information icon. And here now we see that pop up with the information icon, simple information message, maybe letting the user know that the records have been populated to a database or whatever, that the action they've done has happened correctly, and so we give them a nice informational message of their action. Now the last one is a one with a default button set, so we have both yes and no with a question. So I'm going to click on this one, and here we have set, I had a yes no button set, so I had more than one button, and I'm asking the user to make a decision, click yes or no, and I've also set the no button as the default for this one versus yes, so that they really need to click yes intentionally, otherwise they just hit enter, the no will take over. Unfortunately, I do not have any code behind this one, so we won't see anything happen, but the next one we'll actually see the code work behind the scenes. The last one is the exit, and what I said was I did the ME close on this, but I also coded for the form closing event to confirm that the person wants to close that. So let's see the exit button occur. Here I have confirm exit as the caption. Do you want to exit as the message? And then I've defaulted to no. And if I click on no at this point, it'll just go right back to the program. However, let's click it again, and this time I'll click yes. And this time it will exit out. The form closing event will be allowed to be continued, and the form will close and exit the program. And there we go. So one of the main things that's nice about this is we can control how we exit out of the program with a confirmation message on that. Very simple coding like this. Remember, we can return back and analyze the dialog result for what button we might have selected in the message box area, and we can set the default button that we want to make as the default of the buttons we've given as an option. And there are a number of buttons we can use, not only the yes no and just the yes button or OK button, but we can have cancel, ignore, retry, different other options. We can also change the icon depending on what the nature of our message is. So the message box gives us a lot of options to code to inform the user as to what we'd like to see them be aware of in their program, either to let them know they've successfully done something or let them know that there is a problem, and perhaps also to inform them that the program has a problem and we're telling them that there is an error and we need you to do something different, or we need to give you information about that error. For example, we might use the message box as we do validation of data being entered in. We can examine the data that they've entered into maybe a text box, and if it turned out they entered in something that we didn't want for their possible response, we could then bring up a message box informing them that that's not valid entry for this particular text box, and ask them to try again. So we can code with the message box different things, informing the user what to do. Just remember that the message box will stop the program from executing any further until the message is answered by clicking on the button, and we can analyze the result, the dialog result of that response of the user to code how we want our code to execute based off their response. So the message box is a very powerful thing in coding, and we'll show you later on how to use that as we look at validating data on it. Until next time, get your hands dirty in the code. Try out and play around with the message box, learn its different parameters, how to use it, and you'll be better for it, and you'll make your user a lot happier because you're going to inform them what they need to know to make their program work successfully for them. So take care.